Hello and welcome to Woven in Time. My name is Lisette and I am an intuitive guide, astrologer, and energy healing practitioner or artist. And I just wanted to do a little collective reading for us today for the new moon in Virgo. So the new moon in Virgo is taking place today at the time I'm recording, August 22nd, and it'll be at 11:06 p.m. If I look this way, the chart's there. And it's interesting because I will be honest, I haven't really had like an abundance of energy. So indeed, hence this setup. But I still wanted to record something just to be supportive in case if this video finds you. So I do hope to be short, sweet, and simple to the point. So as I was prepping this space, I pulled a chunk of cards off of my Animal Spirit Oracle deck by Krans. And it was perfect because the card that was showing was the Lion card. And to start off this intuitive message, I feel like it's really important to kind of remember that we're still integrating a lot of energies that we received from Lionsgate and also from the full moon that we had in Aquarius on August 9th. So as we're coming into this space of stepping into more of this leadership role within our lives, and as we're allowing ourselves to be more confident and courageous and also more authentic, it's really important to tune in to how we're allowing these new inspirations that we're having during this time to fuel this fire, so that we can purify with our heart and allow ourselves to remove potential obstacles that we've been finding ourselves either consistently within or that are presently arising. Yes, so I just wanted to share that as the first little note. All right, so when we're talking about the new moon in Virgo energies, we always want to think of the zodiac sign. So Virgo is a mutable air sign. Oh, I don't know why I said that. That's so funny. Virgo is not a mutable air sign. It's a mutable earth sign. So maybe Gemini's, oh, that makes sense. Gemini's energy is sneaking on in here, if you will. And that kind of makes sense because Uranus is creating a square, so kind of friction and a challenging aspect to this new moon. And when we're thinking of mutable energies, these are times where we're being called to really allow ourselves to adapt and to pivot, to give ourselves permission to know that it's okay if we're having to change something again, especially because, or if something hasn't been working out and now we're just maybe you thought something was going to work out for you and then something just happened, unexpected, Uranus energy, and this is setting us up for stories within eclipse season and for the rest of this cycle, if you will, that we're really focusing on with the nodes being in Virgo and Pisces. So when we're thinking of Virgo and looking at it from a more soul-centered or spiritual lens, we're really tuning into the awareness that Virgo is representing this remembrance of spirit and matter. So it's almost this essence of remembering this this motherly archetype, but also the essence of the child. And it's like our divine child. So it's essentially our soul. And it is the light of our soul, and remembering that the essence or the mothering, birthing energy, being our body to birth our soul's light into physical form. I hope that made sense. But so when we're thinking of this energy, it's really important to think about the previous things that we've kind of experienced, so we can be a little bit more intentional with the seeds we're sowing during this Virgo new moon. So if we think back to August 9th, or just think back to Leo season, and this was a time where we were hopefully, like, we're in the peak of this heat, right? And we're really connecting with our heart, what matters to us. And we're also in this space, when we think of the Lionsgate portal, where we had that alignment with Sirius and Orion's belt and the sun, our earth. And this is a time where we're able to pull in more of our soul's light. So when we're thinking of that, and then we're also thinking of Aquarius, which the Aquarius energy is speaking to this new moon in Virgo, just because Uranus being more of the, I guess, modern ruler of Aquarius, if you will, we can remember this essence of, it's kind of like the higher mind, or like our oversoul. So this is very interesting. So if you are thinking of your physical body, and then you imagine if you expand out, like, of course, you have your mental body, your emotional body, more of the astral plane within all of that. And just to make it simplistic, just imagining that, like, you kind of keep going and you meet an essence of your higher self, and then from your higher self you come to this larger essence, which is your soul being part of the specific frequency band of light. And within that light, every time we allow our physical body to reattune more with being able to hold more of that frequency band of light, then that light will pour in through those layers, and it'll dilute a little bit though, because if it all just poured into our system, if we think of the electrical component of Uranus, it would zap our nervous system, and we don't want our nervous system to be zapped. So essentially what I'm trying to get at is that we are, at the time of this new moon in Virgo, we're being invited to reattune to our body in a way that we are setting ourselves up with systems and routines that are allowing us to be in a space of, one, faith is very key. Faith and trust that what our body is asking us for is, like, it matters. And allowing ourselves to honor that, because in honoring that, then we get to allow for more of those, let's say, I don't know why I want to say the word codes, but I guess I can say that. But if it doesn't resonate with you, you can adjust to your belief system. But you can allow for more of these light codes from your oversoul to pour in more easily to your higher self, so that you can physically receive more information. And information being of, like, what it is that you want to really dream into at this time in your life. Because it's it's interesting because this new moon is taking place at 0 degrees of Virgo. So this is like, it's a it's a 0 point. So there's like, it's almost like there, this is, anything is possible, right? And when we're also thinking of the 0 point, we also have Saturn at 0 degrees in Aries, which I think is really important because, you know, Saturn dealing with structures and Aries representing the mind, or Mercury in ray-centered astrology or esoteric astrology. And Mercury is the ruler of Virgo when we think of traditional astrology. So we're really blending these perspectives of looking at the how do I want to say, the more traditional, or the body, and then infusing it into this spiritual body. And this is really supportive in that as we prepare to step into eclipse season, you know, there's a lot of unexpected things that kind of happen sometimes. And since this new moon is squaring Uranus, sometimes the challenges or the things that happen can be hard. It can be very challenging. But it's interesting because something that I've been being reminded of in like my contemplative spaces or in my meditations is that, you know, and I even like came across a video that like reiterated it. So it's been like being baked into my mind, is that, you know, a lot of the times we can go through a lot of pain or suffering or hardship, and sometimes those are the things that we can hate or be just very I don't know the word other than like not allowing ourselves to take a moment to actually digest the experience for like what it actually is at its core, because sometimes it's very hard until we're out of that situation. But you know, the pain and that suffering, that friction, that challenge is really the greatest gift. Sometimes that's what allows us to grow the most. So, you know, as we're moving through this time, if things are happening that you didn't expect, how can you allow yourself to have grace and to have faith and to remember, like, what are the things that you have in your day-to-day experience that are your anchor points to bring you back into this essence of being grounded, and being connected with your body and honoring what it is that you're needing for nourishment as well, so that you aren't in this system where if you are feeling like dysregulated, that like you're just staying in that like buzzing space and you're not allowing yourself to ground. So this is definitely a very, very important time to be sure that you are grounding, because also if you're in a space where you're trying to receive this inspiration, let's say this higher inspiration from your higher self, your oversoul, and you know, you can't, like, there's going to be blocks in receiving if you aren't grounded and rooted to allow yourself to let that pour in with ease, or it can just get distorted, and you don't want to slip into a space of distortion. Because it doesn't have to be necessary if you're being grounded and in tune with your body and your intuition. All right, so I feel like that's all I need to say for the chart itself. I didn't expect to say all that, so I hope it was at least somewhat supportive. And then now we're gonna pull some cards. So I'll probably put a timestamp that skips to this part. So hopefully whoever can just skip to the reading if that's all they want. All right. And I'm like, if you are watching this, please do like give me a thumbs up or like leave a little comment if something resonates, because I'm like, I don't know, it's just nice to know sometimes, you know. Okay, anyways, so we're just gonna pull some cards from the Astrology Oracle deck to see if there's any other astrological energies that would like to be emphasized at this time. All right, so the first card that came out, okay, so the first card that came out is Sagittarius, Optimism, Exploration, and Freedom. Okay, and if I'm not mistaken, the next Mercury retrograde we have will be in Sagittarius, and it might dip in to another sign, but I can't remember. But for sure, I believe it's in Sagittarius. So this time could be foreshadowing, like just thinking of if you allow yourself in your intentions, because when we're thinking of new moons, it's all about what intentions we want to set. But the important thing is to remember that we're working in this space where we can't really see anything, right? The moon is dark. So when we are setting these intentions, to allow ourselves to feel, to dream into them, but to also allow for inspiration to explore other possibilities. Because I do feel like the thing that you might set intention towards for this new moon, just because that Uranus square, there is this unexpected essence to it, right? And also this, no, not quite. Okay. But anyways, I wanted to talk about Chiron. So basically, just allowing for awareness that, like, maybe in these unexpected events that will arise, they could potentially be giving invitations for maybe deeper healing in some spaces that weren't fully in your conscious awareness. And from that, because you get to choose to heal that aspect or give that aspect of yourself more love and nourishment, that you can invite even more freedom towards what it is that you feel like you're capable of creating, and also that you're worthy of creating. And of course, you know, you're always worthy and always capable, but sometimes, you know, it takes this deep restructuring of our mental body to tune into allowing ourselves to believe that. And then the next card that came out is House 3. So it says early learning, childhood relations, the rational mind, and communication. So this to me is just saying at the time of this new moon in Virgo, it might be really nice, especially if you just think of Virgo being ruled traditionally by Mercury, of like setting some intentions towards how you want to invite yourself to connect with learning things in new ways to provide new inspirations for where you can potentially go. And this is also showing too of, you know, really thinking about like in the way that your life is set up presently, is it supportive to the core essence, the core value or values that you have when it comes towards relationships? And are you also allowing yourself to speak purely at this time, to be honest about your needs, and to really also bring awareness to maybe some of the areas that maybe there are aspects of yourself that haven't been able to fully like mature from childhood experiences, and maybe some of those frictions that are taking place at this time, if you do experience that, maybe some of those are giving invitation for those aspects of self to mature so that you can be back more in your wholeness, within your essence. All right, and then it looks like this card wanted to come out. So then we also have house 2. So physical security, possessions, material values, and self-worth. So this, which I feel like we kind of did already talk about self-worth, but this also, you know, when we're thinking of Virgo and just thinking of like the organizational quality or the systems, this is kind of making me feel like, you know, this might be a really good time, which is actually interesting because I've been deeply feeling this and doing slow, like decluttering, cleaning, almost like spring cleaning, but I know we're not in spring. But maybe you'll watch this and it'll be spring and it'll be right on time. But anywho, so basically, it might be supportive if you want to take the time to actually think of like the purpose that things have in your home or even at work, like on your desk. Like, what is the intention behind these objects, these possessions, these materials that you're having around you, and are they actually in an essence that is uplifting and inspiring you or keeping you rooted and anchored so that you can stay in this flow of like having a bit of structure, but there's flexibility. So it's almost like, does that what you're looking at inspire you, or does it make you feel heavy? Does it make you feel light or want to like move? Like, I don't know, explore for yourself. But indeed, and this is also showing too that if you are having any issues when it comes to finances at this time, that it might be time to put together a bit more structure in how you're allowing yourself to be aware of like your income, your savings, and like what are your financial goals, like all those kind of sometimes little mundane things that we kind of just skip over. So just tuning into that for yourself if that does resonate. And then I'm gonna do a little animal spirit card. And we're just going to see if there's any supportive animal spirits one can work with at this time during the new moon for their highest and greatest good. Okay. All right, so first we have crocodile. And crocodile in this specific deck, it speaks towards the essence of resting. So also, I think it's interesting, you know, just thinking about like how you make earth like mutable, and you know, where you find mutable earth, water is involved, right? So this can be a time of when you're setting these intentions, how can you really tune into the emotions that are arising and like what they're truly telling you for the essence of deeper rest. And also I'm just getting a lot with like boundaries as well, because these boundaries are really important, and it's important what you're saying no and yes to, like always, but especially right now, because it's just such a potent time again, with that information that we're receiving from our higher selves and our oversouls, that like to allow these things to land with ease, it requires some stillness and knowing that like there is no rush. Like time, how do I want to say, like I don't like time is on your side, even if it doesn't feel like it is. Yeah, I hope that made sense. And then next we got moth. So with this card, this shows change, and also I'm kind of getting like intuitively with the essence of the moth that, you know, it is the air elemental. So thinking of the mind, that like, you know, moths are drawn to like flames, right? Or to light. And it's really important, which is actually interesting because the Sagittarius card has like a little flame. So it's really important that when you are receiving new information, that you're not only just tuning into the idea of it sounding good logically and being drawn to it. It is important that as you're tuning into your intentions at this time, and as you're just moving through this time in general, that you are tuning into your heart and you're allowing that to be the flame that the moth is being drawn to. So your mind is being drawn to the flame in your heart. Because if not, then you might end up being drawn to things that are actually not for your highest and greatest good. And, you know, everything does serve its purpose for sure. But I'm just hearing that, you know, sometimes we put ourselves within situations that we don't necessarily have to go through to learn that specific lesson. So it just kind of feels like one of those situations where, you know, the challenge and friction that's being created, it can be learned in a way that doesn't have to be so painful. Indeed. And then the next card is hyena. So with hyena here, and that also is interesting because hyena can be a little bit of a trickster energy. And yeah, so that's like a really interesting little message, but if it resonates, take it. If it doesn't, then please don't. But also with a hyena, it can speak towards like wit and sarcasm sometimes, and sometimes, you know, we can be a little bitter in in a way that is, how do I want to say? It's like bitterness through joking, but you're serious. And it's like you could just communicate what it is that you're needing to say or how you're feeling or what's going on. But maybe there's like these expectations and such. So maybe like just tuning into if you have specific expectations of different things at this time, it doesn't mean like don't honor your values or like don't honor your belief structure, but be really sure that like you're not getting caught up in like false things that are just illusions. Yeah, I hope that made sense. It was kind of a little stumbly for me, but indeed. Yeah, and that element is fire. So just putting that out there. So again, we don't have earth in those animal spirit cards. So that in itself is really showing like that groundedness is really important. And look at that. I was curious if I would get an earth animal spirit, and I did. And it's the elk spirit. And elk is almost this like healthy archetype of the father archetype. So it is this essence that, understands how to take logic, how to have this responsibility, and to do these things in a way that is actually nourishing to all. And I really feel in this instance, in this instance, it feels like nourishing to your internal system so that you're able to meet others more clearly, especially since we had that house 3 with the early learning, childhood relations, and the rational mind and communication. So, yes. Okay, cool. And just some colors, if they do stand out. So a lot of like root energy center, so red is coming out, and solar plexus, and then the heart. So maybe those are some areas that you'd like to set a little bit more intention towards. And then if you are wanting, just thinking of like a creativity component, maybe connecting with more orange at this time, if that's something more of that you'd like to call in, or even with finances, because we talked about that a little bit, if that's something that you're wanting to work towards a bit more, working with orange, your sacral energy center. All right, and then we're gonna pull just like closing a little message from the Rose Oracle. Yeah, cool. So it says, plant yourself here, integration, embodiment, and grounded action. And this card is actually perfect, I think, to end on, because when we began, we were talking about us still being in this integration period from the Aquarius full moon and the Lionsgate portal. And when we're thinking of embodiment, it's the essence of allowing ourselves to embody more of who we authentically are, and to do so in a way that, like, especially when we are wanting to make really big pivots and changes within our lives, we are like, we're reshaping the mold of our body. Although, it's I guess physically it's a little bit more subtle sometimes, but you can even think of like our mental body, like if you're familiar with thought forms, like that in itself is being reshaped, remolded, so then we can allow ourselves to have more integration and more embodiment, and to also to take grounded action. So really at this time, it might be nice to implement at least one new thing, if you feel called, that is truly a consistent anchor point for you every day. So be that like you wake up in the morning and you go for a 5-minute walk, or you wake up, or it doesn't even have to be you wake up, it could be like in the afternoon every day you take a minute to journal and like do a midday reflection, or like you take a minute in the evening to put your feet on the ground, or doing that like practice where it's like you like pick 5 things in your space that you haven't looked at in a while, or like hearing 4 things. I think it's seeing, hearing, and then you smell, and then taste. So it's like activating these components within your physical body, your senses, so that you can be more rooted and more grounded, and even within potential chaos that might be occurring. Indeed. So I do hope that is supportive to you along your journey. And if you would like to join a moon circle, I'll be holding the next moon circle tomorrow evening, so August 23rd at 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. The Sacred Exchange is $33, and we'll be doing an exercise that I have been loving for myself lately. So we're doing a little creative body mapping. So it'll be an intuitively led meditation where we're connecting with literally mapping out our body. And if you have like colored pencils, watercolor, whatever, you can use whatever, because we'll kind of dive more deeply into that. And it's also very creative, so we can kind of connect more with our intuition and really listen to the messages that our body is trying to share with us. And then we'll of course talk a little bit more about the astrology, and see like where this new moon is taking place in your chart, so you can be a bit more defined in your intentions, or a little bit more clarified in intentions. And then there will also be a sound healing portion as well. So if you'd like to join, we would love to have you, and you can always find all the information for upcoming things in the description below. And I am always trying to be consistent with content, but not gonna lie, my energy has been so fluctuating lately. But I feel like just doing videos kind of maybe like this for now, where even though you can't fully see the cards, I at least shared the information and you got to see them for a second. So indeed. But and if you're ever looking for any support on a one-on-one setting, I do offer astrology readings and integration and healing sessions, where I have an abundant toolbox of resources that I work with. So be it Reiki, the cards, or sound healing, or EFT tapping, or breath work. So it's really customizable to where you're at, and we're really connecting with elements that support with integration and flow and movement again. So with all that being said, thank you if you made it until the end, and I am wishing you a beautiful and nourishing new moon in Virgo, and take care and much love until next time. Bye.